Hello and welcome to Triumph After Abuse. Today's episode number 2 is going to be dedicated to a woman named Louise Gallagher from Alberta, actually. And she became entangled in a bad relationship in 1998 and lasted, I do believe, until 2003. Wasn't so devastating as the last episode, which is a good thing. She was able to get out of it. So today's topic is, like I said, little bite-sized pieces we're going through. So last episode was what is abuse. I gave just several examples off the top of my head, and today is going to be all about verbal abuse. Verbal abuse overlaps with other types of abuse, but it's basically what's the difference between a normal argument and a verbally abusive argument. Some people may think that you're not supposed to have any arguments when you have a relationship, but you have arguments. I mean, please, not everybody agrees on everything, but you can have a respectful disagreement without getting into bad behavior regarding it. So we'll get into Louise's story a little bit later, but right now I've made some notes, so I apologize for not maybe looking into the camera while I'm talking. So, this is sort of just a little bit of a rundown. Verbal abuse goes beyond having an argument. Name-calling, hurtful sarcasm, blame and manipulation, and threats are common signs. Setting boundaries and cutting ties if possible may help you stay safe. Abuse comes in many forms, not all of which are physical. Even though physical, believe it or not, well, maybe not believe it or not, is the most common type of abuse, domestic abuse. When somebody repeatedly uses words to demean, frighten, or control someone, it's considered verbal abuse. I actually pulled notes from a website called Healthline, all one word. Anyway, verbal abuse can be from a variety of people. It's not necessarily just your partner. Lots of people are into that sort of bad behavior. What's the difference between verbal abuse and a normal argument? Normal disagreements look like not dissolving into name-calling or personal attacks. They don't happen daily. Arguments revolve around basic issues. They aren't character assassinations. You listen and try to understand the other person's position, even if you're angry. When one of you may yell or say something awful out of frustration, but it's unusual, and you work through it together. Even if you can't agree completely, you're able to compromise or move on without punishing the other. Arguments aren't a zero-sum game. One person won't win at the expense of the other person. Here are some red flags when somebody engages in other types of behaviors. They insult or attempt to humiliate you. Then they accuse you of being overly sensitive or say that it was a joke or you have no sense of humor. They frequently yell or scream at you. Arguments take you by surprise and you get blamed for starting them. The initial disagreement sets off a string of accusations and dredging up unrelated issues and puts you on the defense. They try to make you feel guilty and position themselves as the victim. They save hurtful behaviors for when you're alone, but act completely differently when others are around. They get into your personal space or block you from moving away. They hit the wall, pound their fists, throw things, and they want credit for not having hit you because they're great. So, name calling. Well, I mean, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. You don't need to be told what name calling is. We all know that. That's childish behavior as far as I'm concerned. Condescension. Condescension is another attempt to belittle you. The abuser comment can be sarcastic, disdainful, and patronizing. It's all to make themselves feel superior. Sarcasm was something I felt was normal growing up. I remember being young and sort of like that was the general sense of humor in my house. My brother, who's many years older than I was, would, not that he knew it, because I wouldn't do it in front of him for sure, because, you know, I was just like, F you in front of him, but it really hurt my feelings because I adored my brother. But he has a very sarcastic sense of humor. I think that comes with the territory growing up in an abusive household. So he would have me in tears. I would be bawling after when he left. Like my feelings were hurt so much because I was pretty sensitive. I'm actually pretty sensitive now. Overly so at times. So and then when I was older, probably in my late 30s, I remember somebody saying to me something really sharp and hurtful to me in a sarcastic way. And I was like, pardon? Like, what? And they said, oh, what? You can't take it? You do it all the time. And so I've really tried not to be sarcastic anymore since then. That was a long time ago, because I finally got it, that it's like, oh, that's not funny. Gotcha. Even though I'm sarcastic with people I'm really close to, it's just, they know I mean nothing by it. I'm not a malicious person. I know people that say, I'm not this and I'm not that, usually are, but I'm not one of them. So condescension is like, I guess making yourself sound superior would be, let me put it in terms that even you will understand. I mean, that's low. And making somebody feel like they're stupid, or trying to make somebody feel like they're stupid. And, you know, anything like that to make you feel bad about, or try to make you feel bad about yourself. Number 3, criticism. There's nothing wrong with criticism if approached in, you know, a constructive way. But in verbally abusive relationships, it's particularly harsh. So, for example, you're always upset about something. You're playing the victim. That's why nobody likes you. I would call that confession through projection. Because, you know, people that say that type of thing generally behave that way. I think I have a hair. So that's one example. Number 4, degradation. Abusers want you to feel bad about yourself. They employ humiliation and shame to degrade you. For example, before I came along, you were nothing. You'd be nothing without me. And if I leave, you'd be nothing again. Another thing is like, just look at you. Like, who would want to be with you? Or they'll use something that you know, or they know that you have some issues with. They will use that as a trigger. Like, you know, you'll shut down because you'll be like carrying around an extra 20 pounds or whatever, and they say, how fat does your ass have to get, type thing, which is horrible. It's not about the packaging. Manipulation. Number 5, manipulation. Manipulation is an attempt to make you do something without making it a direct order. Make no mistake. It's meant to control you and keep you off balance. So, example, you would do this for me if you really loved me. I think some of us have heard that before. Number 6, blame. We're all at fault for something once in a while, but a verbally abusive person blames you for their behavior. They want you to believe that you bring verbal abuse on yourself. For example, I hate getting into fights, but you make me so mad. I have to yell because you're so unreasonable and thick-headed, or you don't listen, unless I'm yelling at you. Number 7, accusations. If somebody repeatedly is accusing you of things, they may be jealous or envious. Maybe. Or perhaps they're the one guilty of that behavior. That's more along my way of thinking. Either way, they can make you question whether or not you're doing something inappropriate. For example, I saw the way you looked at him. You can't tell me there's nothing going on there. Like, okay. Or why don't you give me your cell phone to see if you have nothing to hide, like you don't deserve any privacy or whatnot. Love that one. Number 8, withholding or isolation. I just basically call it like the silent treatment. They feel like you don't deserve the time of day. It doesn't deserve a discussion. Nothing's important to them. Unless you agree with them, type thing. Refusing to talk to you, look you in the eye, or even be in the same room. For example, at a friend's house, you say or do something they don't like, and without a word, they storm out and sit in the car, leaving you to explain and say goodbye to everybody. You don't even know what you did wrong. I remember years and years ago, went to Yuck Yucks in Uxbridge. And gosh, this was almost, I would say almost 30 years ago. And it was my daughter's father, and we went to Yuck Yucks, and we had a great time. And all the way home, I got the silent treatment. Or partway through the evening, they didn't look happy, and didn't know what was wrong with them, and I thought, well, maybe they're just hammered or something. I didn't think so, but maybe they don't feel well, whatever. So we were driving home, or I was driving home, because I don't drink, and I was like, is everything okay? Like, what's wrong? And I have. But it was one of those sudden bursts of freak out that somebody does. So much so that I stopped the car, or stopped the truck, put it in park, took the keys out and started walking. Like I was not going to be alone in that vehicle with them, because they were so freaking out. And it was because I had laughed at a joke that they deemed inappropriate for me to laugh at. Yeah. Yep. And that was normal. So you get where we're going with that. It can be very jolting to the system to be the receiver of that type of behavior. Gaslighting. This word is used a lot. I don't necessarily like the term, although it is the term. So, gaslighting is a systematic effort to make you question your version of events. It can make you apologize for things that aren't your fault. It can make you more dependent upon the abuser. For example, you recall an event, agreement, or argument with the abuser, and he denies it happened at all. They may tell you it's all in your mind, you dreamt it, you made it up. They tell other people you're forgetful or having emotional issues. You're kind of delusional. I mean, sometimes you could provide videotaped, recorded evidence, and they still deny it. And they still say, that's not what I meant. I remember growing up, my sister, who is a special kind of abuser, she and I shared a room for 14 years. We had the same set of parents. We grew up in the same house. We're 2 years apart. Pretty similar background, upbringing, parents, communication skills, and what have you. I knew there was something wrong. I didn't really understand, obviously, when you're young, you don't really understand the complex nature of relationships and abusive, controlling behavior and her way of gaslighting me, I guess, was saying that, oh, you just didn't understand what I was saying. And I'm like, and at some point I thought to myself, well, we both grew up in the same house with the same language skills, speaking the same language. I don't seem to have a problem understanding absolutely anybody else except for you. I don't think I'm the problem. I remember thinking that when I was young, and then when I got older, it was like, oh, I get it. They were making me think that I was an idiot or crazy or something like that. Anyway, so it totally nothing like that goes over my head anymore. Number 10, sorry about the tangent there. It isn't unusual for two people to disagree or argue about the same thing more than once until they find common ground. I mean, I understand that people have the same argument like 10 years later, and it's like, you haven't figured that out yet. There's a problem. But abusers will reignite the old argument again and again and again just to push your buttons, never intending to have any kind of compromise. For example, your job requires you to put in overtime without notice. Every time it happens, the argument is about your tardiness. Starts again. Another example, you've made it clear that you're not ready for kids, but your partner brings it up every single month. Number 11, threats. Outright threats can mean verbal abuse will escalate. They're meant to frighten you. So, threats and intimidation, I guess. So, for example, when you come home tonight, you might find a for sale sign on the lawn, and I might just be gone without the kids. Or I might leave you without the kids. Or, if you do that, no one will blame me for how I reacted. Which is lovely. They like to tell people around you. I think that's called triangulation.